That's one of those moments in your political life, and I've been at it for 14 years, where you have to say, is this a hill to die on? Is this something you feel so strongly about because you don't subscribe to it that you have to speak up? And yes, that's the way I felt about it, and I'm glad to say that I argued it and felt that I was doing the right thing.
That is Marc Garneau in conversation last week with Vassy Kapelos, talking about that hill to die on, the reference there to the Official Languages Act, Bill C-13, which is being still discussed in Ottawa, and it's kind of raised the cackles of many Anglophones here in Quebec, and Marc Garneau is on the line right now. Mr. Garneau, first of all, thanks for being here. Would it be fair to say that was the straw that broke the camel's back for you?
Well, in actual fact, thank you, Aaron, for having me on your show. I did promise my wife and family that last fall that I would retire from politics, and after tabling the final report on medical assistance in dying. But of course, that was last fall when I made that promise. That didn't mean I wasn't going to do my job until I left. And as it turned out, the issue of the official languages bill came up, and I felt I had to speak up.
So I would ask the question, because we've had Anthony Housefather on the show as well, speaking of this same bill. We know that he's been very public about his comments as well. I think a lot of Anglophones here wonder, okay, you're a very principled man, and to speak up against this, you represent a riding that's primarily Anglophone and NDG Westmount. Salute you for having done that. And I'm wondering if, because this is not a party position, this is your personal position, and how much flack you took for that, if you did any.
Well, you're right. It is a position that I took which differs from what the government bill proposes, but I felt I had to do it. It's very important that we protect minority linguistic rights in this country, and that includes not only Francophone rights across the country, but English linguistic rights in Quebec, and I had to speak up. And my primary objection was the fact that the bill that the government was proposing, my government, included in it two references to the Quebec Charter of the French Language, which is essentially Bill 96. And I felt that this was unacceptable to put references to a provincial language charter in a federal bill.
So, Mr. Garneau, I want to let you know that you are my MP, and personally, I'm very glad that you spoke up about Bill C-13 and Bill 96. I want to say thank you for your work. And then I'm going to ask you a bit of a tough question, which is, what do you say to those who question that maybe this is a bit of sour grapes? You mentioned that you'd been contemplating retirement. You made a promise to your family, but after the last cabinet shuffle, you didn't get a post, and there has been some mention that perhaps that was the sentiment behind it.
No, well, listen, I deal with reality. I did not remain in cabinet after the last election, and I was disappointed, but that's not the reason I'm leaving. The reason I'm leaving is because I made a promise to my family. When that happened, when I was removed from the cabinet, I'd hardly been back re-elected for 3 weeks only, and it was not appropriate for me to say, okay, well, I'm not in cabinet, therefore I'm leaving. I wanted to make a contribution. I turned down an offer of becoming the ambassador in Paris that the Prime Minister made to me, and I decided, how can I contribute? And I was made the chair of the Indigenous Northern Affairs Parliamentary Committee, and then later on the co-chair of the Special Joint Committee on Medical Assistance in Dying. And I'm glad to say in the last year and a half, I believe that I've made a valid contribution, an important contribution to those two committees. But let's be clear. If I'd known, for example, that the Prime Minister would not have included me after the 2021 election, I would not have run in the election. I was hoping to come back and to continue the work that I had started at Foreign Affairs.
Well, I know it must be, at least for you, nice to hear some of your colleagues. And by the way, I found it interesting you talk about having decided to do this a while ago, having spoken with your family, but I read a couple of ministers suggesting that this announcement by you to resign came as a complete shock to them, but they all describe you as a man of great integrity who always followed his convictions. So I'm guessing you did not share this decision with some members of your party, or why would this have come as a shock to them?
It did come as a shock to most of my colleagues. I think when you decide that you're going to leave, I believe that it would hinder your work if you announce 6 months ahead of time that you're leaving. It sort of puts you in a lame duck position, and I didn't want that to be a distraction of any kind. I wanted to continue to do my work. and to maintain my personal intentions right up until the last minute, and then in an orderly fashion first notify my staff in my riding office and in Ottawa, and then notify the caucus and the Prime Minister, and then announce it officially. And that's the way I did it. I think that's the right way to do it.
Are you really going to retire? Because there's certainly also been lots of talk about how much work there is left for you to do and how much good you could still continue to do.
Well, thank you for that, Natasha. My intention is to retire. I'm 74, and if you're going to do something like retire, you should try to retire. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be open to something that might be of interest to me, but not having the pressures of public office or schedules to follow is really what I want, and spending more time with my family. But I'm not saying no if something interesting comes along, as long as it only takes up a certain amount of my time.
Fair enough. Let me ask you a couple of things. I know we only have a limited amount of time. Number one, you took a bit of a kicking from the French media here once you announced this idea over Bill C-13 and the fact that you were, unhappy with what you were hearing, including the amendments. What did you think to see, yourself taken to task by French media here?
Well, you're right. I was harshly criticized by French media, but listen, I consider myself a person of principle. Me standing up for the rights of Anglophones in Quebec is not me being against the protection of French in Quebec, which I also believe very strongly in, and I recognize French as the official language in Quebec. The two are positions that I don't think are mutually incompatible. It is important. We all talk about how we've got to protect Francophone rights in the rest of the country, and they do need our assistance, but we also must be consistent and protect Anglophone rights in the province of Quebec. And that is, I'm a very logical, I'm an engineer, I'm a Cartesian person. That's the way I think. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So that's just the way I'm made, and that's the position I took. But you're right, I took a lot of flack from the French media.
Have you heard anything beyond that now? You've made this official. Has anyone called you from the French media? Have you had discussions with anybody there about doing an interview post this?
Nobody's asked me for an interview,
Wow.
but I will say one thing. They know my position, so there's no mystery left in that, but I have not received a call from anybody.
I would ask you one other thing, and that is when you decided to announce this and let the Prime Minister know, and he obviously knew before anyone else did, was there any discussion? Did he say to you, you know what, I don't want you to leave, I have something else I'd like you to consider? Did that ever come up?
No, it did not. I notified him Monday night, and of course my announcement was on Wednesday, but he thanked me for my service, and that was about it.
Okay. I have one last question. I brought this up earlier on. You mentioned you want to retire, or at least not be able to put in the same kind of hours you have until now. I have a thought here, Marc. Have you considered perhaps taking over as president of the Montreal Alouettes now that we know there'll be a local owner here? What do you think?
Well, you know what? I used to be a football player, and in fact, when I graduated from university, I was sent a letter by the Alouettes offering to try out, believe it or not.
Hey.
And I made the decision at that time that, it was very nice, but I don't think I would make it. I don't think I had quite the weight and the speed that would be necessary, but I was very flattered. And I continue to enjoy football, but I don't think that's in the cards. But I don't know. I'll wait, and if somebody sends me an offer, I'll look at it.
Ooh, sounds hopeful.
I'm going to call Pierre Carpelito after the show and let him know we spoke, and perhaps that'd be a nice way back. You were once approached by the Alouettes. Now you're available. They don't have a president. Mario Cecchini has gone on to hockey. Yeah. I think Marc Garneau. Do you have, if I'm serious for just a second, if you had to pick anything that you do want to do going forward, have you even thought about it?
Well, right now I'm writing my memoirs, and so that's occupying my time fully. After that, I would like to do something that has perhaps elements of volunteering, elements of perhaps teaching or public lectures, that kind of thing, but things that don't sort of require a continuous commitment.
Right. Well, listen, we wish you all the best,
yes.
And for all the people you represented in NDG Westman over the years, Natasha included.
Thank you.
I'm sure they thank you for your service as well. I want to read the last thing you posted because I think this really struck me. You wrote, "My challenge to you," now you're speaking to, I guess, people coming up. "My challenge to you is to find your better angels and put away the anger and false indignation. Criticize by all means, but do it with respect and maybe even wit. Make Canadians proud of this House, the House of Commons, and the people in it. And I just thought I'd want to share that because I thought that was extremely well said. So
thank you, Aaron. Thank you very much, and thank you, Natasha, and all the best to you.
Thank you so much.
To you.
Former Liberal MP Marc Garneau on What's Next.